I don't hear any bear. Will I actively listen for a bear?
Great. You don't hear any bear.
Okay, I get the hell out of Dodge.
All right. As you leave the cave,
Oh shit, everyone's out here to greet me? Hello.
yeah, you wish.
Hi guys, how did you get up the mountain so fast?
As you
It's the
leave,
after image of me running away.
as you leave the cave, you do see a familiar figure, and he sees you. The bear's eyes sort of settle on you, and it pauses for a really long, like it waits. It sees you, and it
I
seems very aware that you see it, but it does not do anything.
I slowly um will move off to the side. Maybe it wants to just go back in the cave. I will slowly back up and move away and look as tall as I can.
All right. The bear starts moving forward, and as it's coming up the steps, you notice that this thing is drenched in gore around its mouth and its front claws, though it does not seem to have any wounds at all among its person. And it approaches, and it pauses, and it's breathing loudly, and it's sort of baring its fangs, but it doesn't seem agitated. It seems interested, but not agitated.
I will continue moving away slowly and say, "Good bear, you're killing goblins. Keep that. You're doing amazing. You
Uh,
don't want to eat me, though. I'm a friend."
Killing goblins. Aren't you assuming many things?
Yeah,
It lets out kind of what almost sounds like a harumph before its head sort of lowers, and it just sort of nonchalantly pads into the cave without giving you any further notice.
I will twitch, like just spasm out for a moment, and then sigh, take a deep breath in, and get my butt moving down the mountain.
All right, take one last endurance check.
This is where I fail because I'm exhausted by now.
Rolls 95.
No, I'm still good.
Nope.
See? If as long as I say that you roll terribly, you don't.
Please keep doing that.
That was the plan.
All right, you arrive back in camp.
Can I go straight to Anders?
If you want to, yeah, you can even go there before you go to camp.
Yeah, I want to go straight there.
All right, you go straight to Anders. When you arrive, you do see Sasha standing outside, casually leaning up against one of the beams supporting the tent. And when she sees just you coming, she very languidly reaches down, and you see her kind of have unsheath a very long and wicked-looking blade she keeps at her side.
I will say, Miss Kaminsky, with your presence there, I would like to speak to your Lord Anders. It relates to the shrine he was missing, or he was searching for.
She does not. She kind of stares at you for a really long moment, and then she sort of nods her head and says, "You leave weapons out here."
All I have is my staff.
She glares at you and she says, "Then you leave it out here."
I will drop it where I stand.
She nods and sheathes her weapon.
I will go inside the tent.
All right, you find Anders sitting in the exact same spot he was probably sitting 4 hours ago, except for this time there's a much different series of books, and you notice very almost immediately that many of the books, or two of the books strewn out in front of him, are a collection of symbols that are identical, that look very of the exact same nature to the ones you saw in the cave.
I will kind of exclaim as soon as I see those. I saw them just a little while or a little bit ago.
Anders will jump at the sound of your voice, and he sort of like leans back in his chair, wide-eyed, and that he sees that he's you, and he goes, "Oh, it's you. Where are the others?"
Well, they did not take the same trip that I did. I was just up at your shrine just a little bit ago. I took the trip myself.
He his brow furrows, and he says, "That's why you weren't with them earlier."
There's more knowledge that I needed to acquire before I could be certain that I wanted to leave it in anyone's hand. You must understand.
He sort of shakes his head, and as he like pushes against the desk to sit up fully in his chair, and you kind of hear his back cracking, not because he's probably been leaning forward for this entire time. And he says, "You should not be going to such a place."
Have, my lord, but it was required.
He settles finally into his chair and frowns, and he says, "I need some tea. One moment." And he sort of he turns and he opens his mouth. You hear him intake breath, but before he can say anything, Sasha, and you notice that she approaches so eerily quiet, you did not hear a whisper, but she brushes past you, and his voice just sort of dies in his throat, and he just sort of like he just shakes his head as she moves past the two of you, picking up a kettle on her way towards some back room.
I bring more knowledge than likely my companions had when they first talked to you.
He looks at all the maps and books strewn out for him, and he says, You said you saw something?"
I saw a good majority of the images they had carved on. I cleared away a good portion of bones while waiting for a bear to wake up, and it didn't, as you can see. I'm still here. I left on good terms.
He frowns and starts to stroke his chin thoughtfully, which is cleanly shaven, and he says, "You're okay. What?" He seems to have he pauses for a moment and kind of wiggles his fingers and says, "All right, what exactly was on the wall?"
I will describe to him everything you told me. I wrote. On the left, people look distorted, wearing smaller versions of the skull. Further carving to the left, but have to clear away bones. On the right, heads have been replaced with various animals. The skull had some sort of flame, unleashing something on the beast-headed individuals, imagery of death and misery and suffering.
He listens to your tale, and he kind of keeps eye contact with you most of the time, and is completely oblivious to when Sasha brings out some hot water and begins making some kind of likely very exotic tea for him, and she puts it next to him, and he doesn't even respond, and she doesn't seem to mind. And he sits there for a long moment, and he says, I need to see this for myself. This sounds very strange. I think we might be onto something. These symbols here, these are not Tallite symbols. They're from something equally as old, but far different.
Like the local date.
He nods and says, Rogenbach. Yes, this seems very up his alley. But the standing stones are assuredly Tullite. I wonder which was there first. He sort of purses his lips and
I will also describe to him the vision I got when touching the stones, as well as the cold dread I had when looking into the skull, and that felt like someone was watching me at all times.
he pauses for a long time and says, I this all sounds very peculiar. It's like if what you describe is true, then we may be looking at a contest, or perhaps a signifier of some past struggle. This sounds like a remarkable find. We must absolutely. I need to see it and take copies, and this could be groundbreaking academic research.
Well, I will tell you, you will need time and shovels to get rid of all of the goblin bones, because, oh my, there are so many, and they are frustrating.
He nods slowly and says, "Aye, but getting past the Guardian may be more of the large concern. The fact that the shrine seemed capable of when I heard about the troll stacking the bones, I thought perhaps the shrine was powerful enough to naturally attract a wild guardian. But it sounds like not only was that likely the case with the troll, but it found a new one immediately. I mean, that speaks to this must be one of the most important blessed sights to Tull that we've seen in this part of the Empire ever."
Yes, it got a rather large in a day's time, less than a day's time, perhaps.
He nods slowly and he sort of looks up at you and he says, "I need you to gather your companions as quickly as possible and return here. We need to discuss how much I need you to get rid of that bear. I don't care how you do it.
I went.
You
If you can provide perhaps meat to draw it away, I would prefer something something not violent.
He nods and says, "Yes, very well. Go gather your friends. They should have your payment as well. Go gather them and come. You four will join me for dinner. It's settled."
I will not.
He claps his hands and says, "Sasha, bring out. We're going to need the table extender." And he slowly creaks out of his chair and starts moving around the room and seems to kind of forget about you.
He is like the epitome of some of like my older professors, like archaeology professors. He reminds me so much of some of my professors.
But I will nod and I will quickly leave the tent to go find everyone.
All right. You enter camp, but as you enter camp, and the day has gotten really worn on by this point. Like it is well into past afternoon. Because everyone's kind of been up to stuff. As you enter camp, though, you see from the direction you know to be the direction to the actual village of Hagerdorf, you see torches, and you hear shouting. And as you look, walking into camp, you see a large group of very angry-looking people storming their way towards the camp.
I throw up a hood. Get my butt into.
And Reeman's not here right now. That should be a GM layer. You notice that everyone very quickly vacates the premises that is on the outside of the camp, either heading into the woods, presumably to do work. The 2 Bretonian peasants quickly dip inside their little makeshift thing out here, and a lot more guards suddenly start rushing to form a defensive spear line at the entrance as this horde of very poorly dressed and absolutely enraged-looking individuals start heading towards the entrance.
Can we say Verstat was inside the tower using his new library?
Yeah,
privilege?
that's fine. That would be a great thing for your character to be doing. Roll a... You don't have the research skill, so roll a straight D100.
Sure.
On a 1 through 10, he might learn a new spell.
Gain a mental spell.
Okay. You find a lot of interesting things, but nothing like super mind-blowing.
Okay.
Though I should know, when you go in there, you notice that Otto is gone.
Okay.
As I said earlier, I'm about ready to fall.
I know, we're getting to a wrap-up point. In just a second. So, as the 4 of you, and even from inside Otto's tower, you can hear the people approaching. And you actually, being inside his tower, you feel the very winds of magic, which are very heavy inside, starting to churn, like slowly pick up speed and almost seeming to flow in a really aggressive pattern because of the sheer volume of emotion that's inbound.
If Drax sees the elf, he immediately walks over and hands her 2 crowns. Completely irrespective of everything else going on.
All right, and
We have a dinner with Lord Anders.
Vertstat, do you head outside or do you just stay inside?
Yeah, Verstat sort of sees winds of magic by smelling them. So, he smells fish for winds of fire. And
Okay,
stuff
so
like
in that case, if that's how your second sight presents, so the very metallic and powdery, almost like black powdery smell, starts to turn into a really acrid stench. Like, it starts to smell like when someone has lit plastic on fire and just let it burn, or when someone's been burning really bad quality oil or gasoline. Like, the smell starts to just get really ugly and unpleasant.
So Verstat will sort of recoil from the stench a little bit, but then follow his nose and follow his second sight out the door and towards these people.
All right, and as the 4 of you reunite, you see all of these people screaming at the guards, and many of them are holding torches, makeshift weapons, shovels, pitchforks. But Verve especially, but all of you have your sight easily drawn to a woman who is standing in the front. And she is very noticeable compared to all of the people around her, because not only is she slightly taller than them, but she is... To say that she is scantily clad is a little bit of an understatement. Like, she seems to be wearing what someone would probably think, she seems to be wearing, what could be considered robes, but the robes seem specially designed to show as much of her skin as humanly possible. She's barefoot, and it's hard to see her face because of the shadow that's cast by the large, antlered deer skull she wears for a helmet. And that is where we're going to stop.
Oh, God.
All right.
Yay!
Great session, everybody. We're just going to do 50 experience for this one.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns that need to be answered?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt with it, but I wanted to get lantern oil at some point while I was walking around camp during the 8 hours.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem.
Oh, I get my shield fixed.
Yes and yes. So the oil. All right, because y'all threw the oil on the troll, didn't you?
No, that's how we set the tree on fire to burn the fireweb.
Oh, right. It was that thing. Okay.
Because the pyromaniac actually was failing to do it.
Well,
That's
it's a stone troll, so that's what happens. All right. Let's see here.
I just realized Drak's been calling him a pyromaniac, yet Drak was the one that set the fire in the last session.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a dwarf if they weren't kind of a hypocrite.
That is true. And
Okay,
I totally
so-
forgot, so I'm just gonna go with Drak forgot. So.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Okay, so for a shield, you said?
I was just fixing my shield.
Okay.
Because remember, it got wrecked
What?
by the spider rolling a crit.
Yeah, is it just a regular shield, or is it a buckler?
Buckler.
It's a buckler.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes that a little complicated. Then it is. It will cost. Let's see. I'll convert that to brass. See, there's what? 12 brass in a shilling? Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. So 12 times 18 plus 2 divided by 10. It will cost 22 brass to get it fixed.
How much does a shield cost?
A shield costs 2 gold crowns normally, but if you buy it here in camp, it'll be more expensive.
Okay.
If you want to get it for like a fairer price, you'd have to go into Jettenberg. Or you could place an order to get it in from Jettenberg, but you might never see your money again. So,
Yeah.
choose your battles is what I'll say on that.
I will get my buckler fixed.
Okay, and then oil. Let's see. Lamp oil costs it costs 2 silver. If you want, you can try and charm or you can try and haggle it down. But it in the camp, it'll run you for 3 silver.
Yeah, I'll go to my old friends who I bought from last time and try to haggle them down from 3.
Okay, they do like you, so that will help. Though I won't tell you by how much.
I'll re-roll that.
Fair enough.
I'll spend the other fortune point to boost it by 1, so it's only 1 failure.
All right, they're willing to part with it for 2 silver and 6 brass.
Alright, I hand them one of my crowns to break.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right, so they'll break that. Okay, so they'll break that, and they'll give you back. They'll give you back 17.5 silver. So 6 brass, 17 silver.
Alright.
Anybody else? All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.